Origins Week. Origins Week.
Origins Week.
It's Origins Week.
The most important week in Heroclix.
Absolutely. And of course, I'm Jason, and I'm joined this week by Tom.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to the biggest week of Heroclix of the year.
With the smallest cast on the Metal Lab, because it's just the two of us.
You and I.
Without further ado, welcome to the Metal Lab. We're brought to you in part by hcrealms.com, your source for Heroclix information and tools, or utilities, as it were. The unit section is the biggest utility in the world of Heroclix. Tell me anybody who doesn't use it, and I'm telling you, you've got a liar or a newbie. As well, the forums is a wonderful place to get into the Heroclix discussion and talk about the game in general. And it's also where you can find out about rock tournaments. Such rock tournaments including, and I went and lost the conversation I was having with Scott Johnson. But if you check it out on the homepage, you'll check out the Rock Super Qualifiers going on at Comicapalooza, which is actually this Saturday. So if you're not able to make it all the way out to Origins, check that out. Location, give me a quick second here to pull that up because I'm a rookie at this. It's going to be in Houston, Texas. So it's a little bit of a distance from Origins. If you're not going to be in the World's Hoopla, go to another competitive tournament this weekend at Comicapalooza. Just make sure you get your pass to get into the tournament, get into the show for that one. And while you're also at HC Realms, check out the shop section, and while you're purchasing some really cool HeroClix paraphernalia, put in the coupon code MARRIED for 10% off of your purchase, as that goes to support the channel and, gets you a discount on stuff, so I can't argue with that. We're also brought to you in part by MajesticCCG.com. Check out the Apex Insiders, especially this week, because it is hot with articles right now.
Ain't it, though?
It is the week of Origins. We got articles by Easton Brock on the 3v3 format and some suggestions using the X-Men and Wolves Finest, which are the most likely sets to be seen there. We got articles by Adam Friedman this week. We got articles by me, which are less about the game and more about how to prep yourself. And I'm probably going to break 3 of the rules that I wrote in that article just by forgetting my pants. I'm sure of it. But again, check that out, MajesticCCG.com. And while you're there, if you're interested in the Apex Insider Premium articles, $3 a month gets you access to that. There's some really high-quality writers. As I mentioned, some of the names just now are just so small sampling of some of the writers who write for us. For them, rather. So, Tom, how was your weekend?
It's been great. I'm very excited to hit the ground rolling with a lot of HeroClix. I mean, the weekend wasn't very Clixful. It was very workful. But you and I had a grueling session of practice last night, which was kind of fun. For the most part, besides both of our collective disappointments at times. But no, it was great, and it was very informative, and I'm really quite excited to, I got my travel insurance, I got my U.S. cash, I'm getting the Roman plan on the phone, and all my dot my I's and crossing my T's at work and so forward, so that hopefully I'll be as little distracted as I can be. Switching out vehicles tomorrow night, and we are heading for the road on Wednesday morning. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Looking forward to the 6-hour trip myself. I got most of the stuff that you just said set up last week, including the roaming on my phone. So I will be able to update people on Facebook while we're on the road. But we'll probably try to use hotel Wi-Fi as much as we can. Oh, excuse me. But I actually, on the other hand, had a very Clix-filled weekend because I finally got my chance to play some Civil War. And not only did I play one, but I got to play 2 Battle Royales of Civil War this weekend. And I got to try a taste of either side. And let me tell you something. If the map is correct, pro registration wins handedly. And if the map is not quite there, pro registration wins just less handedly.
What makes you say that?
Well, I want to just say Bullseye is a prime example of that, but there's just a lot more range, a lot more focus on more supporty-like powers such as telekinesis and perplex and whatnot. There's a lot less going for it in the anti-registration side, at least that's what I've seen. And I think pro registration just basically swept the matches that counted at our store. I have to double check one more time just to be sure, but yeah, pro registration was definitely running pretty dominant at our store. I'm gonna blame the bases because a bright red just shines in your face, and I'm gonna blame myself for getting a little greedy on one of the bounty cards in my game. I had a Doc Samson bounty card, and if you're familiar with how the bounty cards work, or you're unfamiliar rather, if you kill the character on your bounty card, every player on your side of the factions playing in the tournament gets to heal one of their characters one click. So I overcommitted a little bit too much to Doc Samson on his last click, and I think I missed 7 attacks in a row before I finally got a hit that would stick. So.
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. I love that Doc Samson. I must say, I don't know whether I've ever said it here on air, although I think I may have at one point. But I think I once commented that if I could, make a piece for Heroclix, then a top choice for me would be Doc Samson. And it turns out they've given us just a fantastic one. I mean, it may not be everything that I ever could want in a Doc Samson. I've always thought the whole idea of mind control as a psychology thing was a little bit forced, but it's fine. It is what it is. I think it's really cool that he turns into a great little fighting machine as late dial for the points. I think he's just a fantastic addition to the game and a good Doc Samson. So I'm really happy to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get into the news, which is actually very short-lived this week. There's not much in the way of news in regards to the game. I mean, they showed some more dials from Civil War, but at this point, if you haven't been to a Civil War event yet, you're going to be at one this week, I'm sure. Yes. So you'll see some dials. So we don't really need to share that. So what we are going to take a second to do is update you on updates that have been made. And that is in regards to actually Origins this weekend. As Origins isn't just the World Championships, but it is also the the U.S. Nationals. Mm-hmm. So what has happened very recently is some more people qualified to the second round of WKOs. But if you actually check the lists, you'd be a little bit shocked to not see your name if your name wasn't already on the list. So I currently only have the Worlds one up right now, but if you check the press section of the WizKids site, the WizKids itself, you go to the press room, click on the announcements. You'll find that there's and on the second page of it, you'll see right here, World Championship qualifiers. And it was 17 last week. It is now 35 entries. So you just, if you feel you've qualified, you've been at a national level event, placed high enough, check on this list for your name. Some people's names did make it that we know.
Who are we pointing at there?
That's me. That's me.
Yeah, that's what I
thought. So this is why you're going to be catching me battle royaling for the most part this week, while at the same time occasionally running snacks to Tom and Mike. As well, somewhere out there you can also find the Nationals qualifiers. I think that's a little deeper in, which is why I haven't actually loaded that one up yet. It's deep in there, let me tell you. There it is, found it. So national qualifiers, that's on page 3 of the press room announcements. And it's actually modified downwards. It's down to 160 qualifiers, but some of that was folks who've used it in international qualifiers, such as Canadian Nationals or other events. So that list went from 185 to 160, and we're going to pull that up right here. So this list is here. You can actually just modify if you don't want to look at it all at once, and it's actually in alphabetical order by first name, which is one of the weirdest things that some places do.
That is kind of odd. I mean, like, they don't even actually.
But I know that guy.
Oh, thank God! They don't want to go. They don't want to drive all the way down there to discover that I wasn't even in any of the tournaments.
In fact, a little while ago, this was down here twice because Tommy qualified through 2 WKOs. So if you've been worried since qualifying in either WKO or a Nationals event, they have updated all of this information now, and get out there and check it. So this is with the WizKids homepage, not the Heroclix homepage. This is WizKids.com. Click on the press room tab, go to the announcements. On page 2, you'll find the Worlds qualifiers, and on page 3, you'll find the Nationals qualifiers. A little bit of a weak news article or news point because I feel like I just wanted to say the word news before we talk about the fact that Tom and Jason are going to Nationals, or to Worlds rather. Tom's going to be playing in the U.S. Nationals as he's got that spot. So why not try a 1 in 4 chance as opposed to a 1 in 8 chance?
You bet.
And we also have a friend going with us, Mike White.
Yeah,
our silent partner, if you will. He practices with us, he shares with us, but he's not on the show. And we do enjoy his company, and he's going to be staying with the hotel room. He's actually on mine and Tom's team as he's going to be staying in the hotel room with us. Jay will be joining a couple of our friends from the States. Jay, who is also usually on the show, is unfortunately absent due to the Jewish holiday today, is going to be down there as well. He's going to be grinding his way through the World's qualifiers himself, carrying his hand at sealed. So hopefully Jay can make it to that second day or second portion of the World's qualifiers. And
I think our friend Patrick is also going.
Yep.
That was great. So he's going down there. What other locals do we know of?
Locals, I think that's actually about it.
Why?
Yeah.
Small but mighty contingent.
Absolutely, it's a good group of quality players and me. So.
Oh, come on! I'm in there too.
There we go. All right, so maybe we're not all that good. This is just a couple good players, and me and Tom are going too. So, but yeah, I'm super excited for it. And Tom wanted to start talking about top 3 tips for hitting your nationals or worlds event. Now he kind of dropped this on me about 7 minutes ago.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna let Tom share first.
Well, I haven't even so much thought about it. I would say just go back and forth a little bit. Yeah. Because there's a few things that we have to say, and just about everybody who does any kind of a Heroclix podcast or show right now is talking about what to look out for at Worlds. And I think some things go without saying. Things like, go back and see what was doing so well at the states and provinces. We did that in the show last week. If you haven't checked, go back and see the little breakdown of sort of what are some of the dominant strategies and familiarize yourself with how they work. But in order to kind of go away from the obvious, I think the first thing that I would say, I just want to say this to everybody. Really, this is I just wanted to create a platform to step up onto a soapbox, because I was thinking a little bit about Heroclix firsts. And the first time I ever played Heroclix, I remember it was because I was on a Go train. That, for those who don't know, that's a train.
A local commuter train.
Yes, I was on a local commuter train. I had already amassed a Heroclix collection because I was playing Heroscape, and I was making my own cards and stats and stuff for the Heroscape figures. That I was buying Heroclix packs just to get the figures because they were about the right size. And then my roommate at the time, Paul, said, "You ever considered the possibility of learning how to play Heroclix, considering you own dozens and dozens of Heroclix?" I'm like, that actually makes a lot of sense now that you think about it. And so, I taught myself the basics by reading through the rule book and the pack on a long train trip and got home. And the first time I ever played with Paul, we were so confused. We had no idea what we were doing, but we immediately recognized that we were onto something. And it was fun for us to share that experience together of trying to learn how to do it. And I remember that the first time I ever went to an actual tournament locally, once I kind of familiarized myself with the game and I got to know the Heroclix realm, HC Realms community and so forward a little bit, then I showed up for my first ever tournament at a store, and a few of the guys that I still play with regularly, including Mike White, who we are going with on the weekend, he and some others were there. It was a small turnout, but everybody was super supportive, and they welcomed me in because I was very happy to say, I feel like I know this game, but I've only ever played it with my roommate. I'm sure we're doing everything wrong, and lo and behold, we were doing everything wrong. I didn't know the rules as well as I, of course, thought I did, because who does really? You still don't. But they welcomed me and made me feel like I was a part of the goings on there, and it was great. And then the first sort of larger tournament that I'd ever been to, the first time I'd ever traveled for Heroclix, was in Windsor, when we went down and played in the Rock Windsor tournament the beginning of last year. And when that happened, I remember that I went down and I had a couple back-to-back tooth-biting games against Jason here and against Kevin Fruz. That in both cases, it basically came down to the same thing. It was a Super Skrull and Proxima Midnight roll, and Jason didn't survive and Kevin Fruz did. The game could have gone either way, but of course, up until that point, the game could have gone any number of different ways. Had Jason not missed some of his attacks, he could have KO'd me earlier. Had I not missed on some of mine, I could have taken him out, and likewise with Kevin. That's just how the game goes. And I remember we were laughing and we were biting our nails, but we weren't being resentful of it. We were into it, and we were tense, and we were intense, but we weren't taking it out on each other. And the first sort of victory I've had in a big major tournament setting was in Ottawa here, when I came in first in the WizKids Open there, and again I showed up that day unexpectedly and to surprise Jason and Mike and a few of the guys there in Ottawa. We all had a fun time together. So anyway, I'm going on and on because I was thinking about firsts, and this is going to be my first time at U.S. Nationals at Worlds at a major international tournament. And when I was thinking of all the different firsts connected to HeroClix, the one constant throughout has been a sense of camaraderie and a sense of enjoyment. Whether it was with my roommate learning to play the game, whether it was a bunch of guys locally welcoming me into the game for the first time, or competing at a higher level of play, and the guys there making it feel like it's okay, you know, we have fun here, and having lots of laughs and having lots of enjoyment. And the thing about a tournament setting is that it can get very intense, and it can be extremely emotionally straining. And we're all going to be in game mode. And it's easy. We'll beat ourselves up, and we'll bear the weight of the day as we go through. I guess what I wanted to take the opportunity to say is, remember that the great thing about this game is that sense of camaraderie that keeps us involved. That sense of welcome that makes us feel like we're part of a community larger than ourselves. Nobody really, or at the very least, basically nobody is making money on HeroClix. We should be enjoying this thing that we devote so much of our time and our finances and our emotion to, and we take it very seriously because we love it, and we shouldn't love it in despite of these major tournaments. I have no idea how many people are going to go to Worlds. It could be 40 people, it could be 80 people, it could be 120 people, it could be 300 people. I have no idea how many people are going to be there, but I know that only one person is going to win. And if that 1% of the people are the only ones having fun, then we've all defeated the purpose of having a good time at HeroClix. So I kind of wanted to just start things off at the discussion of nationals by saying, yes, take it seriously. Yes, try to win. Yes, have a good time. Absolutely, we'll all be better off if we're all trying to do our absolute best and play our absolute best. But when the heat's on, then use the people around you as a support network to make yourself, to level yourself when you're getting off the level, as opposed to as a punching bag to take out some of your own stresses and abuse on while you're there. That's the first thing I want to say.
Tom, you took the longest possible route to get to don't hate the player, hate the game.
Whatever. I feel like it means more if you set it up with a really long, just because it's like a good joke. Just ask Isaac Asimov; he knows how to tell a good joke.
Exactly. But no, I 100% agree with what he said. I never hated a player who's beaten me. I've always hated the outcome of the game. And they'll all be intense for that brief moment, and I will. Well, if you're in practice with me, you'll witness me take out my abuses on my dice. I
almost caught it.
Tom's map and my window and almost Tom yesterday.
It was in my hand. I caught it and then it fell out.
That was a pretty impressive catch. But as well, guys, one of those things, too, to add on to that is everybody's in the thick of the game and we're all friendly with each other. But take a second to think about when it's a good time to be a comrade with each other. When we're in the thick of a game, probably not a good time to start a conversation with somebody.
No. Socialization and camaraderie aren't always the same thing.
Yeah, and it's okay to socialize. You know, if you see me standing around, I'm okay if you come and talk to me. But if I'm in the middle of the game, and it's not even about me, it's about my opponent. It's just a level of manners, right? Because if we're in the middle of a game and it's either my turn or my opponent needs my attention, it doesn't work to have me talking to you while that's required. So I'm all for conversation. I'm all for hanging out. I'm all for being friendly. But time it.
Yeah.
Because this is a thing I have run into in the past in some of the bigger events is I'll be in the middle of a big game or in the middle of a game. It happened to me about 7 times at WKO where I just had to stop somebody. Like, look, my opponent is trying to tell me what's going on. We can talk later. And it's okay to make that mistake. But just, be patient and wait till I'm done. I mean, it's only an hour or it's only 50 minutes, right? But yeah, that's the thing is, and that's just overall, it's one of those courtesy things I don't think enough people really kind of cover is if there's a game going on, and even if it's your friend in the middle of that game, let them play. I mean, even the biggest joke I played on Tom during Worlds or during a win a map recently is I was playing a side sealed game. I had a Thunderbird and I put it right beside him. I said no words and I walked away.
And as an indicator, games tend to go. It took me about 5 minutes before I even figured out what had happened, and then I stared at Thunderbird for about 30 seconds before I figured out the joke was it's Thunderbird and he's bad. When you're concentrating on something, then the distractions a lot. And I guess that's another. As long as we're talking about Heroclix etiquette a little bit, keep in mind that when people are really dedicated, they won't always hear the things that you're saying to them. So if you're trying to be a social animal in a situation that doesn't afford it, don't be put off by the fact that your opponent's being rude. They're not necessarily being rude. They may be literally not paying attention to what you're saying, but that's okay because you maybe shouldn't be taking that particular moment to force your personality upon them. By all means, as I say, there's a difference between socialization and camaraderie. Camaraderie is more the spirit of the thing. It is conducting yourself in a way that is supportive of the game experience. That doesn't necessarily mean socialization and going off topic. It's just demeanor.
Yeah, absolutely. So
while we're talking tips, another quick tip, and this one's far more technical. If you're playing any kind of a team that there is any kind of a question about the rules, figure it out yourself first. Don't show up at the tournament thinking something works a certain way. In a way, it doesn't matter how much it makes sense to you. The real problem with this is that if it makes sense to you, that is as much what you're bringing to it as what it may actually entail. And there are lots of examples of this, and there's some really tricky ones. I felt badly for a friend of ours at the Canadian Nationals, who was playing a Proteus and what was the other one? Malice. That was it. A Malice Proteus team who didn't realize the ruling on the fact that Proteus would get bumped off and score the points when Malice came on to equip another character. And it can be hard. It can be hard sometimes to figure out exactly how to find that ruling. I mean, admittedly, it's all on the forum there, but you have to dig a little bit, and sometimes you're not sure whether it's going to be in the Malice forum or the Proteus forum or an unrelated forum. Maybe the question's never come up before. Maybe the question has come up, but not in the context of what you're talking about. So you still need a clarification. Anyway, seek it out. If it doesn't exist, get the answer. If it doesn't exist, document the answer. Obviously, the judge is always going to take precedence over all things, and I wouldn't question that. But if you have the ability to cut off confusion and uncertainty at the pass by already having the ruling present to be able to say to somebody, it works like this. Not to be combative with them, but literally a lot of times at the beginning of the game, it's good to just say, so that I know that I'm playing Malice and Proteus, and I know that what's going to happen here is if Malice jumps onto somebody, then Proteus will get KO'd and you'll score 35 points. I just want to be clear that is understood. I am still going to play this team, and you'll have your reasons for doing it, or whatever the case may be. Familiarize yourself with the rule. Make sure you know what it is, even when it seems obvious. If there is any doubt whatsoever, look it up to be sure, and then document it so that you've got it to fall back on, just to save confusion. It sucks to play a 45-minute, 50-minute game and lose 10 minutes of it arguing over something and then having to call a judge and getting them to call another judge and to consult with something and give you back an answer. That just sucks for everybody.
Yeah. And to kind of add to that, I have the story myself of Canadian Nationals. If you read my article on Majestics where I put up my team beforehand, I had this whole strategy to deal with Mystique that involved ID cards. And they had ruled, silly though it may have been, and though I disagree with the rule, I was like, well, I don't agree with it, but I'm going to use it. Is that they decided that Mystique with an ID character or Tico being popped off at the beginning of the turn will be able to target Mystique. And what had happened was I had this on my team, and then on the road to Ottawa, the rule changed. Or sorry, they turned to the rule and said, no, this isn't the actual ruling. We're working on a ruling for this. Right. So I got to Ottawa, and then I had to ask the judge, which, to extend Tom's question, is if there isn't a win posting, if there isn't an errata clarification that covers the rule that you have, be sure to go to those judges before you even start a turn, before you even put your sheet down, to be sure that you and the judge know the rules, and that's how they're going to rule it for you. Because, if you go in with one, like Tom said, with one way of thinking, and then the judge might interpret it a different way, but there's no actual interpretation. You're stuck with the judge's interpretation. So you need to know going in how the judge is going to interpret that particular ruling. And that's just to piggyback on Tom's idea. I mean, Tom, that's very, very, very correct idea in the fact that bring your rules. This is actually part of my article I wrote on Majestics. Research your rules, use to win. And be sure to check out the erratas and clarifications. Sometimes there are ninja erratas that don't get caught, such as recently they errated Malice, where it instead of when she would be KO'd, she equips. She is now when she is KO'd, and then equips. Yeah. So you score the 75 points if you get her off of there, and then she equips to somebody.
I did not know.
It happened within the past 2 days. I know Amber lives on the win because of she has a show to dial it up. So I mean, she is my win Sherpa in height and in effectiveness.
Quite so.
But to go into further non-specific game things, Origins is a convention. The tournament is at a convention. Food at conventions is unexpected, or what's the word I want to use here? It's unacceptably expensive. It's basically an arm and a leg for the equivalent of a hot dog and a pop, and it's probably not even a good hot dog or a big hot dog for that matter. And that what I just described, a hot dog and a pop is probably $9 at a convention. Bring some snacks.
$9 American. That's a $25.
I mean. Oh man, well yeah, you got to think too is with that exchange rate. If you're coming from another country, make sure you exchange your money beforehand so you know what your actual budget is, and double check on the win. The prices for the events are all up there. The prices for the items for purchase are all up there, so you know your budget ahead of time. For one, I was budgeting for $20 battle royales in the U.S. $12, you say?
So still 20, but a more acceptable 20.
Yeah, it's a 20. I'm not going for. So, yeah. In a nutshell, just be aware of that exchange. Be aware of food. Don't overpay when you have to. And if you're not familiar with exchange rates or how far your money is going, there's a rule I actually heard, and it's the first thing you buy when you go to another country is a sandwich. Because if it's a new currency and you're not familiar with it, you go by the sandwich rule, where it's if a sandwich costs, $3 here or 500 other currency, you know that 500 currency is about $3 or a sandwich. It was a really weird thing I heard, and it was a really, really solid idea. So, and because this is world, there's going to be a couple international travelers. I know the Brazilian national champion is going to be here. So I'm looking. We're all looking forward to the international level of play in an international tournament.
You bet.
Yeah. And you want to add on there, Tom, or we think we got it?
Well, I guess another is if we're talking, tips for Worlds. Again, this isn't a tip to help you win, but it is a tip to help the tournament experience go more smoothly. Ascertain ahead of time what information you should be volunteering before you start a game, and I'll unpack that statement a little bit. What I basically mean by that is, if anybody who's using ID cards, and they're very common, so I expect that a lot of people are going to be using ID cards. If you're using an ID card, you can have more characters on your sideline than you associate with your ID cards. You can make the choice at the top of the game what the associations are going to be. Make sure you're clear on explaining what it's going to be. And the only real reason for that is that it prevents you ever being in a situation where your opponent thinks one thing and you think another, and you never said because they never asked, is not really a copacetic way of handling it. You could make the argument that if they didn't ask and you didn't tell, then if there's any conflict about it, then it's a sort of a zero-sum game. But why bother risking that conflict at all? Don't try to sneak one past your opponent, or try to sneak one past the judges here. Be ready to volunteer that information. This comes with a tangent question, which is look closely at your opponent's team to ascertain what information you need in order to proceed. And I'm going to take the ID card example and flip it around. figure out what the characters in the sideline are. If there are multiple starting lines, figure out what starting lines are associated with those ID cards so that you know who can call them in and so forth. It's not just a good piece of advice because it will make you, better at playing the game, although that is true. It will also both parties know going in exactly what the breakdown is going to be so that you can't get into conflict. And I feel like I keep coming back to the same point about try to resolve your conflicts before time starts. But a big part of it really is you don't want to lose time in your game and feel unsatisfied with the outcome one way or another based on something that could have been prevented by just being a bit more communicative off the top. We've talked about the fact that don't engage people in idle conversations. Doesn't mean don't give them the information that they need and take the information from them that you need in order to play the game properly. It doesn't mean sit down and be all stoic and say only what you absolutely must say and then go forward. When it comes to playing the game, try to be transparent with how you've set yourself up and what you're playing with, just to avoid that becoming a point of contention, a point of argument, and a point of negativity. I keep sort of coming back to the same ideas, and a lot of it sounds like I'm just sort of everybody's mom telling them to have a good time. And maybe part
of
the
Manners cast.
Yeah, it really is. We're very Canadian on this cast. But it is sorry. But it's true, and I think that it's an important thing to. You don't want to sour the experience of people who are driving a long way, or flying a long way, or coming from a long way away, or your own experience for that matter, at this tournament, by simple things that could be avoided. If you just take a moment to breathe and remember everything you need to do. If you need to write up a little crib sheet, by all means do. Give yourself a pre-game checklist, and there's nothing embarrassing about that actually being a literal pre-game checklist with so many starting lines and associations with ID cards, with the possibility of switching out characters, with figuring out what starting lines all your people are on and where they're all going and so forward. Figuring out all the information you have to get through, that can be a lot sometimes, and trying to keep it all in your mind maybe is more difficult than you are willing to admit that it is. If it helps to make a little crib sheet, go for it. I know I'm going to.
Yep. And like Tom said, don't make sure there's no excuse for the argument. Kill the argument before the argument even exists, and make sure clarity is there. It's one thing if your opponent says, "Does this power do that?" and you only answer their question specifically. That's not the same thing as what we're talking about. So,
yep. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think we've covered all the soft skills, the play this team specifically, I think we got the soft skills all there, and everybody who's going to Origins now hopefully has got a good set of manners behind them.
I guess there is, because I know that so many of the people who watch the show and who are part of this community are American, I would actually give one other little piece of advice, and that is that if you know any Canadians that are coming down to Origins who maybe aren't aware of the American craft brewing scene, and you want to give them advice on what beer to drink while they're down there, by all means find me, and I'll make sure that I find out about it. So please tell me what I should do. And then I will know what to drink. So by all means, feel free to give me lots of advice on your favorite brews.
And on the cheaper end, if you want to tell me where the beer is, I will drink it.
Tell Jason what the cheap beer is and tell me what the good beer is, and we'll both be happy.
Exactly. In fact, if you can find both in one place, is Amber around? Very attractive service.
Heroclix for now.
You know what, though? This would be the one time I'd like to be doing it alone, but Amber's fun like that. All right. So with Origins being the home of worlds, everybody always asks this question, and Tom wanted to do it, and I said, okay, Tom, because for some reason I can't say no to Tom.
Well, we get so in our head about the technical aspects of the competitive game that we never have a chance to just talk about fun things. And if ever there's a week to remind ourselves that things should be fun, this is that week.
Yep. So for those of you unfamiliar, one of the many prizes you get for winning the Heroclix World Championships is you get to design a figure. And generally you have to have a conversation with kids. There's a little bit of back and forth whether or not you're allowed to. You say, I want to make this figure. They go to the licensee. They say, okay, yes, you can make that figure, or no, you can't make that figure. Get bent. Not in those words, I'm sure. But of course, we went to the extent of what would we make, and we actually made some dials for it. So, Tom, do you want to go first on this one? I'm going to pull it up on my screen here. You're just going to hear Tom's voice because it is just the two of us. But here comes Tom Kerr's dream dial for if Tom Kerr won Worlds.
Unlikely. Unlikely. So take a good look because you'll never see it again. This is Doc Green, and this is the Incredible Hulk from one of the more recent runs just before the Secret Wars event and going into the Secret War event. Bruce Banner was shot in the back of the head at the end of the Invincible Hulk run. Is it Invincible?
Yeah,
no, it was something else. It's a word that's indestructible. At the end of the Indestructible Hulk run, which the Nick Fury SR Hulk was based on, then Banner got shot in the head, and he was basically rebuilt, healed and rebuilt by Extremis. And what wound up happening was that the Extremis worked in conjunction with Bruce Banner's brain as it was being reconstructed and created an even more intelligent alternate version of the Hulk. So that when Bruce Banner would become the Hulk, he would be taken over by a personality that was super intelligent, leader-like in some ways. And his alignment was never really clear. And I would love for there to be a world in which we could see a Doc Green make its way into Heroclix. So tasked with this exercise that I came up with, I whipped together the following dial for Doc Green. Real name is Bruce Banner. He has no team ability. Sorry, Defenders fans. He also doesn't have a Defenders keyword. I just couldn't justify it.
Was this one even on the Defenders?
No, and he really, to all intents and purposes, he wasn't on the Avengers. I'm stretching for that only because I like the keyword, and also during the Secret Wars event, you could make the argument that the combined forces of Earth were all kind of Avengers. He was there at least in some of the books fighting alongside the Avengers, so I figured that was close enough. The sound of beer opening, my favorite. Avengers Brute and Scientist keywords. And here we have his dial, as you can see, is thick with powers. And a bit of a tangent here. When it comes to creating dials, if you've never done it before, anyone who's listening here, try it sometime. Next time you're inclined to complain about a favorite figure of yours that they didn't do justice to. Because it can be really hard when you're designing a dial to not go way overboard. You'll find that I've just filled this up with special powers and traits and things because I wanted it to be just so. And yeah, that makes sense for a piece or two. But if every piece was like this, we would all stop playing this game because it would be too darn complicated. So if you only have a chance to make one dial, then go nuts. But can you imagine designing a whole set? I think that the designers don't always get the credit that they are due. Is
that a dig at me, Tom?
No. Are you a designer? Not at all. I'm just saying that in a lot of cases, when we talk about the dial design, we tend to invoke it when we believe there's imbalance and we complain about it, or if we think the characters aren't being done justice, then we complain about it and we complain about it and we complain about it. But the dial designers have a hard job ahead of them. Anyway, on to this. Improved movement gives him the ability to ignore hindering and elevated terrain. I didn't really feel like giving him the ability to blast through blocking. That really wasn't the style for this particular more intellectual Hulk. He wasn't acting as much like a brute. Because he has the keyword, because he's still a Hulk, and you'll see soon enough that the Hulk within is bubbling to the surface. But in general, yeah, he can jump over the bushes and over the elevated terrain, but I didn't really feel like giving him the ability to blast through walls. He does have a trait which is based on the ongoing story of the Hulk during this period, which is depower gamma mutates. So where he was going around depowering other gamma characters. And it says, once per game, when Doc Green hits a single opposing character with a close combat attack, you may choose the attack deals no damage. If you do, the hit character's combat values can't be increased for the rest of the game, even if this ability is lost. This ability can't be ignored. So basically, he has the ability to hit somebody, and rather than dealing damage to them, he syringes them, and now they can't have their values increased for the rest of the game. That's representing them being depowered. Seemed balanced, but still kind of fun. You can only do it once a game. Secondary trait, which is unleash the monster for the moment. As the comic went on, Doc Green was forever struggling to keep control. He was getting less intelligent, and he was fearful of either the monster of the Hulk rearing its head again, or just being able to revert to Banner and not control. Also, he created an AI that he was afraid he couldn't control. There's a lot going on there. You should read the book; it's really good. Anyway, this is representing him giving in to the urges to become the Beast. Give Doc Green a free action when he has 2 action tokens. Until your next turn, Doc Green can use Colossal Stamina and Battle Fury, and can't use his printed damage powers. So on the dial, his damage powers more are the ones that relate to him being intelligent. When he lets the monster loose, he can't use those, but he does get Battle Fury and Colossal Stamina to just keep swinging and swinging. Looking at the dial itself, it's a lot of the speed and attack slots are more or less what you might expect. A lot of charge, some late dial flurry thrown in when his damage and attack values are starting to flag a bit. The flurry also works well with the steel energy that he has there. Otherwise, a lot of super strength. I did not give him traded super strength only because I didn't feel the need to overload him with traits. He has a certain amount of outwit protection on all the clicks where he has super strength anyway. We'll get to that in a moment. But super strength to let him get the first big old hit. He is a Hulk after all. And steel energy with flurry is a great way to stay alive before you hit your stop click, which, when you look at the defense dials, where you go. Starts out invincible, so he can take that first big hit and survive it. Some mid-dial impervious to shrug off damage. He's reducing down as he goes through invulnerability, and then he hits stop click. And that stop click reads as follows. Stop. Doc Green can't be healed. So as soon as he hits the stop click, that's it for his dial. When this click is revealed, choose one, Hulk or Banner. And of course, I'm referencing the very first episode, or the very first issue of Hulk with the name of that power. Hulk. Doc Green does not clear action tokens, isn't dealt damage from Colossal Stamina, and can't use his printed damage powers or the depower gamma mutates trait. So essentially, he now has the stats that you see, very impressive stats with a charge 10, 12 attack, 5 damage, 19D, but it's an unprotected D. As soon as that 19 cracks, then he cracks with it. He doesn't clear action tokens. He can still activate his Unleash the Monster trait, so he has Colossal Stamina and he doesn't take damage from it. So he just basically keeps on attacking and attacking and attacking until you get rid of him. And that's the Hulk, if you ask me. Or he can choose to become Banner. Doc Green modifies his combat values by -3, uses Earthbound Neutralize, can use Sidestep and Stealth, and can't use Improved Movement, Traits, Printed Speed, or Printed Attack powers. So essentially, he becomes a little sidestepping, stealthy, low-stat outwitter. And that relates to his special power, which is Outwit and Probability Control, as if he had a range of 8, and can't be targeted by opposing characters' Outwit or Prob Control. So you've got some Outwit protection there. When he turns into Banner, then he's doing the Outwit, Prob, Sidestep, and Stealth routine until you take him out, and with his measly 16 defense, it shouldn't be too hard. Or he turns into the Hulk and just hits people until you take him out. Either way, that's Doc Green at 200 points.
That's very cool dial.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so those of you who know me, those of you who've listened to me, those of you who've seen me without a shirt on, they know I'm a bit of a Dr. Doom fan.
He shaves it into his chest hair.
No. Tom, they're supposed to find that out the hard way.
All right.
But, and as a big fan of Dr. Doom, I had to make a Dr. Doom that was both a Dr. Doom and a Doombot, because the two of them in the comic are generally indistinguishable until it's too late. So what I did is I kind of took my cues from Bizarro and Beyonder to a certain degree, and I created this wild dial, as it were. So you can play Dr. Doom is, you got Dr. Doom, his real name is Victor Von Doom. He's got 2 team abilities, of course, the Minions of Doom team ability and the Mystics team ability, because Dr. Doom is mystical, though I was supposed to have a star, I think, beside that. No, it's fine. Anyway, he's got a range of 8 with 2 targets because he's super magical and super shooty if you actually look at him in battle. And his points range from 75 to 275. And that's one of the things that I looked at with Dr. Doom was like, I could be a 75-point Doombot or a 275-point, oh my god. He comes with the Armor, Mystical, Ruler, and Scientist keywords, unless you only spend 75 points, in which case he's a robot, which is all covered in this all part of Doom's plan trait. So when building your force, you may add up to 5 evil plot tokens to Dr. Doom's card for an additional 40 points each. I came up with that number, oddly enough, by some weird math. If you choose not to add any tokens, Dr. Doom has a robot keyword. That's to reflect that by not having those tokens, he's not the Dr. Doom in charge. He's, in fact, just a Doombot. And the reason I came up with 40 points was a number of reasons. One of which is I feel 115 points is good for just a Doctor Doom who's not really all in. And then I saw 155 points for one specific reason, and that was Doctor Doom as a magical character is on par, if not better, than Doctor Strange. And it's not often covered in comics very well. And as a result, if you look at characters like Mary Marvel and Loki, there's a trend where they say you're not really that good at your magic if you're not more than 150 points. So the 40 points kind of helps get to that point. And as well, it also justified the massive dial that I created for him to make him just about a one-man army. I mean, 25 points left, you're not really going to have a whole lot of room in a 300-point game, which is what you have to balance around. So this dial takes a little bit more explanation than just going through the power. So I'm going to start with the fact that if you look at the first 4 clicks there, it's pretty standard with the exception of the damage power I created, the genius level intellect. Dr. Doom can use leadership and perplex. If Dr. Doom targets a character with the robot keyword that is a lower point value than Dr. Doom with perplex, he may instead increase any combat value except damage by +2. So it's your general awesome perplex for robots who are lower points than Dr. Doom himself. And generally, if you played this Dr. Doom in multiple copies and you only spent all the tokens into one particular copy of Dr. Doom, it would be indistinguishable because that's how Doombots generally function. So, and as well, to justify, I got a 75-point dial with what you got there. So if you ignore the fact that there's the rest of this dial or that stop click, which I'm going to explain in a minute, for those 3 clicks is what you're spending your 75 points on. I used the design philosophy of the world's finest at 75 points and said, well, if they can get away with that, this is nothing. But then we get into that 4th click. He's got no stats and the defense power. What's going on here? Well, this is my way of making it feel like it's a Doombot / Dr. Doom. So you're always the first 3 clicks are always the Doombot, because even when you're fighting against Dr. Doom, you've beaten him. Nope, that was just a Doombot. Sorry, buddy. So this power reads, the villainy of Doom. Stop. When this click is revealed, remove all evil plot tokens from this card, turn Dr. Doom to click number 11, heal a number of clicks equal to the number of evil plot tokens removed, then place Dr. Doom in your starting area. If there's no evil plot tokens on this card, KO Dr. Doom. So right there is, if there's no evil plot tokens, he's a Doombot, right? And that's kind of how you get it. And you'll see you place him in your starting area because all you did was kill the Doombot. Now you're fighting Dr. Doom, which is kind of that feeling I wanted to get out of the character. Get that design feeling of, I killed a Doombot. Oh, shoot, Dr. Doom is here. And then this is where the justification of points came along. For every 40 points, you're basically paying for a level of planning that Dr. Doom went into and a level of plot that he had. So at the 275-point level, you'll see this power on the first 2 those 2 clicks with on his movement. Dr. Doom can use sidestep, running shot, and improved targeting, ignore hindering, ignores characters. Ooh, spelling mistake on ignores. Ignores elevated, and the power cosmic team ability.
That's when you only ignore Viking characters.
Viking characters, yeah.
Yes.
Ignores. But this represents Dr. Doom has taken the powers of something, because he's always stealing some god or some power, cosmic power abilities. Yeah. And then he does have that consistent attack power over the Doom version, which is the Master of Magic. Dr. Doom can use Penetrating Psychic Blast and Probability Control, because what 2 powers best represent magic? So you got those 2 clicks that represent him in God mode, and then the next 4 clicks just kind of represent a Dr. Doom to me. So at 215 points, you still get a solid Dr. Doom that you have to kill a Doombot to even get to, and then he is there. And then, even like at what is it? Let me do my math here.
115, 155, 195, 235, and 275.
So like all of them are agreeable levels of Dr. Doom. It gives you thousands of options, or not thousands, but like 5-6 different options in which to play this version of Dr. Doom. And all of them, I feel, are reflective of Dr. Doom in some way, in some form, that he's screwing around with things. I mean, even recently, Dr. Doom went and took the powers of the Beyonder again.
Beyonders.
Yeah, Beyonders. So that's like the 3rd time he's taken Beyonder's powers. He's taken Galactus's powers, God, goodness knows how many times. And,
he's always up to something, and this just represents the level of up to something that he generally is. And that was my design philosophy on this Doctor Doom as a whole. Though,
I like it.
Yeah,
I like that you can play him with one token on at 115 points, and he can go side by side with 115 point Ellie Loki. Nick Fury's got nothing on either one of them, and you turn into a nice little competent fighting Doom once the Doom bot goes down. Or I like the fact that 155 points is about half your team, leaving you lots of points left. Or you just go whole hog for a big time combatant.
exactly, and that's it. Depending on the comic you read, that's Doctor Doom. Which Doctor Doom will I get when I read a comic with him in it? Am I getting Doctor Doom who's sitting on his throne and doesn't want to deal with your crap, or did Doctor Doom just send a Doombot to deal with you? These are the levels of Doctor Doom that you have to deal with, and I feel like I covered all the levels. That if they made this character, I'd be so content, and I'd be like, "You made it. I'm happy. Let's never talk about Doctor Doom again."
So for all of you watching at home, feel free to drop into the comment section what your particular choice would be. I'm interested to see what people think they would make if they were given the opportunity to do it. I mean, we were laughing before we went on air that when we presented our two dials, you were presenting a dial that they almost certainly will not make, as they seem to be not treating the old Fantastic Four characters as personas non grata, and I was making a dial of a piece that they've made so many times that everybody must be sick of them by now, except for me and a handful of others. And so it's funny to think, there are those who just love to be able to pull from the extreme Z-listers. I was going to say Z-listers, but then I was like, I gotta be national pride.
He's saying a boot too.
Yes, they really, pulled the very bottom of the. Remember that there was a panel once where I saw somebody wearing a costume, and so I've named him the Blue Stormcoat, and he's who I would make. And then there are those who are like, I would just make another Iron Man, and everyone's like, oh. There's no wrong answer, and that's the great thing about it. I think it's cool they throw that in because, if ever there was a way of reminding people that Heroclix is a continuum, and I like the fact that they encourage, or rather, they reward competitive success with an opportunity for creativity. And I think that's cool.
Yeah. And if you work at WizKids and you liked my Doctor Doom, my LinkedIn profile can be found at.
And hey, if you work at WizKids, you don't have to like my Doc Green, but I would love it if you just made one. So
Yeah,
please make one.
Absolutely. All right. So on that note, last week we skipped this. I guess this week we kind of got to do it. And it's our monthly OP kit build for the week. And this week it is Gamora. So I'm going to pull up Miss Gamora. And I'm sorry, I'm denying you so much of Tom's face because of the way that this application works with two faces on there.
Quite all right. They're really not missing much. I see it all the time.
All right. So we have Gamora. She comes in at 60 points. She's got 4 range. What you see is what you get for powers, with the exception of her defense power, which is take advantage of your sloppiness. Gamora can use super senses. When she uses super senses to evade a close combat attack, you may immediately place her into a square adjacent to the attacker. And then what else? She's also got improved movement, ignores characters, so she's pretty nimble as far as a character is concerned. She comes with the Assassin, Graces, Guardians of the Galaxy, Infinity Watch, and Warrior keyword. And Tom, what did you build with Miss Gamora?
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, Gamora's fine. Absolutely, for 60 points, she's a perfectly good piece. But she is very much what you see is what you get kind of piece. She wants to get up into your face and start trying to deal you some damage. She's hoping for her super senses to work so that she can knock you back. But frankly, if it doesn't work and you're eating up your actions to take her out, then hopefully the other 240 points of the team are making good on it. I like that design philosophy. It was the Guardians of the Galaxy set, which we're soon going to say goodbye to, had a great little 55-point Gamora that worked on much the same design philosophy. Getting close, the fact that she ignores ignores characters, allows her to get right where she needs to be in order to be the most attractive target. Pun sort of intended, not a pun, but reference sort of intended, for all of your team to try to either soak up their actions, whacking them when their super senses work, or just taking the damage so that somebody else doesn't have to. So I built my team around that philosophy, and I decided to make an Assassin's team. So you should be seeing Gamora right now, are you?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, so this is Gamora. We know what she does. When you're playing with assassins, you kind of got to go with the man with the big balls of fury, and that is Nicholas J. So here we have Nick Fury, and I like what I did with this team because I like the idea of being able to take advantage of the fact that vehicles don't break theme if they're on with their buddy. And so we've got the Shield Space Rig here for 25 points, who comes with Nick Fury without breaking theme, and also John Greycrow of all people. This is from the X-Men set, and he is the one who has the ability to equip a standard object to give himself either Psychic Blast or Precision Strike as he needs it. The concept here basically is that Gamora and John Greycrow at both 60 points, they will become tied for the most expensive character on your team when Nick Fury jumps on board the Space Rig. So as they're going across the board trying to get in your opponent's face, they're avoiding your opponent's Nick Fury from having any really obvious target. Gamora is trying to get up in their face and deal them damage. John Greycrow is trying to stay back, blasting away, and Nick Fury's choosing his spots. While he's on board the Space Rig, then he has a level of protection. As soon as the Space Rig bops him off, he has the opportunity to take a great big shot. And then the hope is that Gamora is keeping your opponent too busy to be able to take advantage of that fact, while Nick Fury jumps back on board the Space Rig to keep him protected until such time as either the Space Rig gets shot down or Nick permanently leaves it to go and do other things. We've also got an Avengers Roundtable here, and because this team in general is not big on defenses, we've got Gamora, who of course has her cool super senses, but it's not an enhanced version of super senses so much as it is just a super senses with a nice little extra nugget when it succeeds. It's still only going to work 1/3 of the time, and it's just still only 17 defense. John Greycrow has a naked 17 defense, notwithstanding willpower, of course, but that doesn't give you any. That doesn't confer any defensive bonus.
That's keeping you alive.
Nick Fury is a little better defended with the stealth, toughness, and shape change, but it's still not reliable, and the Space Rig itself is protected only by ESD before it gets knocked a little later down its dial, which does have the cool feature whereby when it has 2 action tokens, it can't be the target of a close combat attack, which is neat. So we've got an Avengers Roundtable here that is largely based on defenses. The first 2 up are Superman and Wonder Man ID cards, both of which, of course, give Invincible. The nice thing here being that you can get a Superman. You can get a couple different Superman options that can be called out by anyone on the team. If you've got a Superman Blue on your side, then he comes out at 50 points. If you've got KC Superman, then he comes out at 35 as a nice little one-time incapacitator.
They ruled that you can't do that.
Oh, all right. so not that, but Superman Blue still counts. Fine. So yes, by all means, then go with Superman Blue. And Wonder Man, he comes out at 65, so he's going to have to be called out by Nick Fury. But really, his ID card is largely there to confer Invincible whenever it gets rolled, and if you manage to get to the end of the dial, by all means, bring him out. Batman and Black Panther both confer one of my favorite inspirations, which is Barrier, Smoke Cloud, and Stealth. I love the fact that with Stealth and Smoke Cloud together, you can give yourself some protection from range. Otherwise, Barrier is still the most useful power of the game, or, well, maybe not the most, but it's up there. It's a great power, and now that we no longer have the wall, it's one of those things that people don't see coming nearly as often as they used to and aren't really building around as often as they used to. So those are great. Also, you've got some great little low-cost versions of both of these characters, but the 45-point Black Panther from the new Civil War set and the 60-point Batman from World's Finest can, again, be brought out by anyone on the team, except, I suppose, the Space Rig. Martian Manhunter is there because his inspiration is so great with shape change and stealth, and honestly, his 100-point dial may be expensive enough that Nick Fury's the only one bringing it out, but it's worth it because it's a great dial for a big old 4-damage Psychic Blast. He's a great piece, and if you can bring him out and do it without having to compromise Nick Fury, by all means do so. And finally, the Atom, because the Atom can truly be brought out by anybody, including the Space Rig, to take advantage of the Colossal Retaliation, providing you're still sticking within your 5-square radius. So when Gamora's up there getting in everybody's face and being annoying, give her the opportunity to bring out an Atom when somebody does some damage and see the fun that ensues. So that's the team. Pretty straightforward little assassin team, but I think it could be fun to play. I'm not going to say it's the most competitive thing I've ever created for this channel, but I would enjoy seeing how it worked in practice.
Yeah, and one of the things to add about that Atom thing too is you could also. Did you mention that you can bring it out with the Space Rig?
That is, I tried to. I thought I did.
I'm sorry, I kind of spaced out during the Atom because I had to adjust my team very briefly because I realized something got added to the game recently that saved my butt from embarrassment.
No, that's good.
Yeah. So when I came up with my team, and if anybody wasn't paying too close attention to the screen while I was showing off Gamora, I had started with a build that was also an assassin team, but then I got to the end of the build and realized that the last assassin I had to my team kind of killed the theme team I was going for.
It wasn't an assassin?
That was Arcade. He's an assassin.
Oh, yeah.
Arcade. Now, here's the thing. I went with a limited, and I went with a very somewhat glass jaw team. But this is the kind of team that I often do find myself playing and do enjoy playing. So,
treasure.
Yeah. So we got Gamora, of course, 60 points. She's the first thing because she's the requirement. I also got the Black Widow from Civil War. Now, there's also another 5 points on this team. I'm paying for plasticity this time.
Yes, absolutely.
This is a character that you want to pay for the plasticity for. That 18 defense is reasonable enough. It comes with willpower. She's also got exploit weakness and shape change, so she's pretty safe in close combat. And of course, you got the Avengers Initiative to add some extra mobility, and she's got improved movement, ignores characters. Very cool, very useful movement thing to do. And then we have Cheshire. I am in love with this Cheshire. Every time I see her, I want to build with her. I want to have thousands and thousands of her little babies. She's a wild card, which means, guess what? She's Avengers Initiative, though that's not really
she doesn't really need it, but
she doesn't need it because she's got improved movement, ignores elevated, and ignores hindering terrain. She is traded with poison and stealth, and she does not take damage from opposing characters using poison.
But boy, oh boy, can she ever throw that ultra heavy object through hindering despite somebody's stealth?
Absolutely.
Take that wild card. That wild card's coming in handy, darn it.
Absolutely not.
She can throw basketball.
But one of my favorite things about her is this movement power. Flurry of poisonous fingernails. Cheshire can use charge. When she does, she can use improved movement, ignores characters, and doesn't half her speed value when doing so. After actions resolve, deal 1 damage to each character occupying a square she moved through. She's got a 10, 9, and 8 movement with that power. So first you charge and move. Let's say you move to 1 or 2 or 3 characters, deal them a damage. And then you're still in the middle of a charge with Precision Strike with an 11 attack. Oh, it is so beautiful. And then about the mid-dial, she moves to this cool power, Paralyzing Poison. When Cheshire damages an opposing character, that character modifies her speed and attack values by -2. Her golden click is number 3, because if you can combine that power, the ability to deal damage just by moving through people, and that damage power itself, or even just include the poison in there as well, you're making a lot of characters have a hard time hitting. And especially if you poison your neighbor with her, that's a 17 defense with, becomes 19 in close combat, and you're -2 to your attack. So I've effectively swung my defense by 4, which is totally cool. And to cap it all off, originally I had an Arcade on my team, but then, you lose your theme team from having Arcade on your team. And really the only bonus I was getting is if I got Arcade's map on a 50-50 chance, Cheshire, because she's going to be in people's faces, is going to be who he shoots through. But I decided to go with Bullseye instead. Because 1, I love Bullseye. 2, I love Bullseye.
Yes. Also, he keeps your ignores characters theme going, so
absolutely.
That's the sub theme is one or characters.
That, did you? You see, I decided today that I don't want to care about your characters when it comes to moving, drawing lines of fire. So we got Bullseye. If you haven't seen him yet, I believe he was previewed for on the WizKids, but running shot, 12 attack, 17 defense, willpower, and 2 damage. It's not fantastic, but that precision strike makes it useful in all cases. The fact that it's 2 damage means, invincible isn't going to stop your day. As well, he's got a special move power his last 3 clicks, which is sidestep and stealth. He's got a trait. This one's got your name on it. When Bullseye damages an opposing character with an attack, place a marked token on that character's card. When Bullseye targets a character with a marked token with an attack, he may remove 1 marked token from that character to increase the damage dealt to that character by 1 if he hits. And I don't know if you notice his attack value, he's hitting. in a lot of cases. Even with my dice rolls, this guy is hitting. That's saying something if you witness often. It's a shame that they didn't make the Thunderbolts ability a team ability, because that would be great for Cheshire. But all in the same, I thought this would be a neat little limited team to kind of run. Pray you don't get punched, because
I'll say
this team can dish it. Boy, can it not take it.
Team 5 clicks of life, mostly 17 defense, largely undefended.
Yeah. So you're relying on your semi-decent defenses. I think the only damage reducer on the team is Cheshire's toughness. Ugh. So I got to rely on the shape change from her. It's not
super senses.
Yeah, but if this team is doing what it's doing, your opponent is getting punished for your existence. That's all I got. That's all I wanted to get at with this team. It's like, and that's really if you ask me how an assassin team should feel. It's like, man, if I hit you, just please don't hit me.
Yeah, exactly. If you get spotted, then you're in trouble. So just kind of parkour your way out of there, whatever.
And I wanted to take a second to remind people that if you want to get a question into the fan questions segment, which is the next one, as a matter of fact, put your questions in your comments below or on the Facebook post that you found this link from. As well, if you want to join us as part of the patron program, check us out at patreon.com/Heroclix. Thanks to the patrons, we actually got a brand new camera to film our videos with. We're kind of getting all the kinks out of course, first opening the camera and making sure we can adjust lighting settings and everything like that. And the microphone is really good. We got to adjust our volumes as opposed to its volume. So we actually have to change the way we talk in front of the camera for filming our episodes. So
it's going to become like a golf, the commentary on a golf match.
Well, that's how I'm going to be talking.
Yeah.
It's still going to sound like my usual broadcast voice, which is, oh my God, guys. Ah!
No, yeah. So you have to really rein it in, just like, I'm going to give this character a movement action, and we're going to go forward 9 squares. So that's the future of Heroclix right there. Golf commentary.
But I am still probably going to yell at my dice. So if you see my dice roll bad, take the headphones out quick. You've been warned.
Yeah, there's an adjustment period here. Well, eventually we'll get to that. We're just like, I can't trust my dice to do it.
Or we might just separate the audio tracks. It depends on how sensitive this thing ends up becoming. All right. So on that note, we're going to get to the fan questions on Facebook first. But again, check us out on YouTube. If you are on YouTube right now, throw your questions in the comments below, and we will address them once we're done with the Facebook fan questions. Oh, look, we got a couple already. All right. Good. So first up, Matt Wallace.
Hey,
What's up, guys? As a strategy with the Rock of Eternity, one of the drawbacks is trying to use the sins themselves, but to spin the dial, your opponent's figures need to receive action tokens. Do you guys think that it would be an easier task just to use figures like Iceman, Sloth, Turtle, and Kitty Pryde Prime to help slow down the game long enough to get the dial spinning faster? I've been working on a build that uses such a method, and it's been consistently popping the Shazam dial between turns 2 and 3, and so far the only problem I run into is KC Shazam. What are y'all's thoughts on dealing with him? Hey, Tom!
I didn't have much fun playing with the Rock Eternity last night. And for what it's worth, one of the things that I did find successfully with the Rock Eternity, I mean, certainly the more you can try to obviously be going around picking up the sins without taking actions, and in general, the more you can find a character that's mobile without the need of taking actions, the better. So, I mean, I don't know how much flexibility you have on your champion, but if your champion does have the ability to move for free, whether it be using sidestep, I mean, I was using the SR Faust last night a little bit, which is cool because he has the ability to place himself within 4 squares in hindering terrain if he starts in hindering before he uses sidestep. So, in a lot of maps, because hindering is common enough, then you can get around and go picking up sins without taking actions. So at least you're not running it back any more than you absolutely have to. So I mean that's the first step is trying to get those to get around the board and to get sins with as few actions from your champion as possible. Beyond that, the only problem with Turtle is of course that he doesn't prevent your opponent from moving far. He just punishes them a little bit by taking the extra token. So in the case of something like KC Shazam, there's really no way to block that off. You're probably better against a KC Shazam type figure to try to cut off his ability to get through. If you can choose maps that have pinch points and place plasticity figures in them, this is all difficult to say. A lot of times with Rock of Eternity, you're trying to get your champion to where he needs to go, and some of the other pieces on your team might be a little more sacrificial. And so if you can build with sacrificial pieces using powers like plasticity or barrier, etc., that can either create pinch points and cut them off, or close off pinch points, etc., that could help at least stretch out Shazam getting through, maybe. I mean, it's very difficult, frankly. It takes a while to get the dial advanced. And, of course, the problem with Rock of Eternity is you can never actually rely on any of the sins. So if you're trying to build a team that legitimately relies on the sin or two, that's a hard go. You're going to have a hard go of it. But if the idea is just to be able to get into a position where you have the most option, so it really works for you when the moment arises, is just fill up the rest of your team besides your champion with elements of board control, not just slowing people down, but also cutting off where people can go, or just having a force around your champion that has the ability to hit really hard, really fast, that prevents people from wanting to get in too close. That's what I have to say. Just.
Yeah, and I kind of get what you're getting at with regards to adding action tokens. Just don't forget that when you add one or more that the Sindal moves. So even Turtles giving you 2 actions is just going to slow them down. It's still only going to move it once.
Yeah. Well, the idea being that they would normally take 1 action across the board, and now they'll take like 4 or something.
Yeah. So, but then, people have been talking a lot, like, I'm going to use Incapacitate to move my Sindal. Well, you still have to devote the points to that, and you got to find a worthwhile Incapacitator for that. All in all, right now, the Rock of Eternity is not, it's homework, as Tom recently discovered, and I've described it many times. It is definitely homework, and that is homework in the game, homework in trying to figure it out, and it's actually almost a part-time job in game. Just trying to get it to run.
There's a lot of management. There's a lot of management. But I mean, just because it hasn't been cracked doesn't mean it's uncrackable. It just means it hasn't been cracked. So by all means, if you think you've got a good idea, go with it and see where the blind spots seem to be. I mean, it seems right now you've identified it. An immediate blind spot is, you said Shazam. I would expand that to include obviously any character with very high swing, and particularly very high hypersonic swing. Obviously the KC Flash is going to fall into that category. Several different Supermen are going to fall into that category. And if that's a problem for you, then Turtle could be helped. But again, Turtle's only going to dissuade them if they're really worried about that extra action token. If they're already Indomitable or Quintessence or what have you, that's not really going to scare them off. So maybe instead try something that's going to stop them in their tracks or cut off their ability to get through.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully some of that adds to your already plans. I mean, by turn 2 or between turns 2 and 3, it's very hard to accomplish, because I know turn 1 you can have 2 if you're doing it right. Turn 2 you can have 4, and when you can start rolling at what? Turn
5.
3? Turn at 5? Okay, so yeah, turn 3 is when you can actually start rolling for it, because you can only take the free action to pick up a thing once per turn. Remember, because it's a single free action. So I'm guessing you got 3 or 4, turn 3 or 4.
I guess you could start on turn 2. Now that I think about it, if you can get the 4th one through free actions. Because you don't have to have started the turn, just as at the beginning of your turn. So if at the beginning of your turn you place, and then you have the ability, like Faust was a good example, I could place myself within 4 and then sidestep, so I was able to go for free to the next one. It's still the beginning of my turn, so you could make that roll. So yeah, hypothetically on turn 2 you can do it. You're looking for a 12, and then you look for progressively less from there, obviously.
Yeah. All right. So next up, put a stamp on it, Chris Stockhouse.
Hey!
Can Origins start already? I know, right?
No kidding, eh?
Dude, I'm so glad the Jewish holiday meant that my office was mostly empty today, man. I just
can't wait to start the party.
Yeah, I know. It will be a long extended weekend for me, driving back and forth from Lima to Columbus Thursday through Saturday, a little over 90-minute drive.
That's fine.
That's cute. Try doing that 4 times one way.
Whatever. Well, he has. This is a man who travels. He knows what it's like. It's just not in this instance.
I know. I'm planning to do all the battle royales and maybe try my hand in a Dice Masters qualifier, since in those, at least, I won't be relying on what might have been in my packs. Okay, before we move on, one, see you in the battle royales, because that's what I'm doing most of the week. And 2, careful, Dice Masters meta is broken. You haven't been warned. I dealt 104 damage to a guy in a turn yesterday, or on Saturday. Anyway, and 84 of it was before the dice stats. I'm thinking I'll give a real push towards Heroclix Worlds next year. I find myself tired of the prospect of trying to qualify through sealed. I mean, with pieces I probably haven't practiced using together, there's a real challenge to getting in the top 1/8 of the field. I'm just not comfortable with a team like that, and the probability of me making mistakes seems fairly high. What are your thoughts on being in the right mindset to grind through a qualifier tournament, or even those competing US Nats Thursday? Is it worth playing if you know your heart is in there? Okay. Your head and heart is always in there after the first round. Because you just realize, oh yeah, I love this game. Secondly, though, as far as the sealed qualifiers, I think Amber released an episode this past week of Metafix, where I talk about wins over points. And it's what got me my qualifier at Canadian Nationals. I played in the first qualifier, and yes, I did use a Juggernaut and a Mystique. That was a pivotal portion of my team. Still had to get kills because the rest of my team was basically in body bags from the get-go. But just remember, the win over the points in the case of these grinders is key. As far as U.S. Nationals is concerned, that is going to be a competitive field because 160 players are currently qualified for that. Now, not 160 are going to show up, but I'm going to venture a guess at about 80. Might even be 120 because that's what sometimes shows up at U.S. Nationals. We'll see. I'm just kind of throwing numbers in the air and seeing what sticks. But I know for a fact that Tom and Drake Conrad, that's the other Canadian, Drake Conrad. Hey! Yeah. As far as getting in the mindset, if you don't want to play sealed, is hard to get by because you just have to accept that, well, it's sealed, and you got to get in the mindset of, I can do sealed. And X-Men, let me tell you, if it's X-Men, damn, is that a set you can do sealed. As long as if you're confident in your ability to play the game and build a team, period, X-Men is a set for you for sealed. Now, if it's World's Finest, I can't dissuade that mindset of, oh my God, I might not pull the Kingdom Come character, but that's when you're trying to get your points over a certain thing. Because the other thing about the new level of qualifiers, it's not strictly undefeateds get in there anymore. It is 1 for every 8 players in the qualifiers and 1 for every 4 in the U.S. Nationals. So as long as, let's say there's 32 players playing in the World's qualifier, the top 8 get in. The top 4 get into that. If it's U.S. Nationals, I don't think 32 are showing up, but top 8, just so you get that fraction out of it. So you just got to put yourself in that position. In a lot of the cases, 1 loss doesn't take you out of it. But I've never been in the mindset that you're in, so I have a hard time relating to it, unfortunately. Because if I'm going to if there's something up and there's a way to get in and it involves Heroclix, let's do it. And I think that's kind of the mindset you got to put yourself in is, I can, and therefore I will try, even if I fail. Tom?
Yeah, I agree. Although unless I'm misreading it, I kind of read his comment as saying that, he plans to show up and play the battle royals because he's not really in the mood to go into the sealed grinders and deal with the stresses of that. And I would say that there are ways of getting yourself into that mood, but don't feel the need to force it. If your world's experience is going to be, or I guess your origins, I should say, experience is going to be fulfilled by playing in as many battle royals as you possibly can, then by all means do that. I mean, I don't. I wouldn't say, don't try to force yourself into a competitive mindset if it's just not the way you're feeling. I would say I would harken back to the idea that although we all take the game seriously, we still should acknowledge that it is a game and that it is something that we derive pleasure from doing.
I was trying to combine my fun face and my serious face, and
yeah,
and I just got this weird duck face out of it.
I was curious. So I mean, like I totally hear where you're coming from. If it's I guess go there with the expectation of playing what most interests you. I mean, if the question is how do you deal with not being in the mood, I would agree with Jason that if there's any doubt about it, then just starting out the first time you sit down at the table, you tend to get in the mood. And honestly, I tend to do the best that I do in Heroclix when I'm not really sweating it too much. And I don't know whether that is, and in fact, I'm almost certain that is that pressures and stresses cause you to make mistakes, and you do stupid things. You're not thinking clearly when you're too laden down with stress. In some cases, not really feeling the pressure can be the best situation to go into a game. That being said, you don't feel compelled. So I mean, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is you can't go wrong as long as you show up. It's one of these things that when you're there and you're surrounded by people having fun, and you're there to have fun, and you focus on having fun, whatever the context of that is, you can't go wrong until the point where you don't want to be there, and yet you're forcing yourself to be anyway. That's the only way you can lose.
So hopefully we've kind of set you in the mindset that you need to hear. But he does add that he has a lighthearted question. Other than your potential Worlds teams, what are you most worried about leaving at home?
That's a great question.
I got two answers to that. One, my pants, because just saying my pants is a funny reaction to anybody.
Don't you hate pants?
I forget them all the time. I see. Also. Okay, now this does require a little bit of an explanation. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the way money moves, but when you go and get your money exchanged somewhere, oftentimes they don't give you the exchange rate. They make you a little bit worse in their favor, because they take that little bit off the top. And as a result, I asked a friend who works at a bank if he could get his particular discount off that extra top bit to grab me some money. And another friend, our other friend, Mike White, also did the same thing. Unfortunately, Mike White doesn't live as close to this guy as I do when I'm playing Heroclix in Brampton to this guy. So at a multi-level thing, I've now got Mike White's money in my possession, and I am terrified of leaving that behind, because then I ruin his weekend, and as a result, I ruin my weekend because I've ruined his weekend. And I'm definitely probably going to remember that, but that's what I'm most terrified about forgetting, other than my pants. Tom?
I'm going to answer the question in a Heroclix setting, because he said, other than your Worlds team, what am I most concerned about leaving behind? It's not so much it's kind of leaving behind / not thinking. I am most worried about being somewhere in New York State, cruising along at 65 miles an hour, anticipating when we're next going to get a coffee, and realizing that's the ID character that I should be bringing. I'm most worried about, that's a way better option. I'm worried about talking absently with Mike and Jason as we're driving, and I'm like, well, I was thinking I built this. Like, well, if you just put this guy on, that he actually does everything better. I'm like, you guys are the worst. And that can and that will happen. From a Heroclix perspective, there will be pieces I wish I had down there. It's not because I want to necessarily do an 11th hour switch around on any of the teams that I'm bringing with me. But these days, ever so slightly, you tweak things, and you can't bring the whole collection. It's too big.
I'm honestly picturing that discussion now, and I'm picturing Mike White coming to the revelation and me hitting the back of his seat. He's like, no, shh. What? Nothing.
No, hey, I can see it happening for any of the other guys in the car too, for what it's worth. Like it isn't meant to be me.
I'd probably
I can
say
see
something stupid like you brought that for your shield level 7? Why didn't you just bring Peggy Carter?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see anyone in the car suddenly realizing that they missed something very obvious. There is so much out there that how could you not?
And honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Now that you've said this, I'm considering bringing all of my ID cards and at least one of each character to match it. That's off the beaten path.
Well, the funny
You know?
the funny part about it is that I was going to mention this to you off air, but I guess as long as we're on the air, I will say, hey, Jason, why don't you just bring all the ID cards? I'm sure that if we need characters, we could just find people to lend them to us, but at least if we have the ID cards to start, they don't take that much space in the truck.
That's true. So I guess I'm bringing my ID card. By the way, you were supposed to grab my shield level 7 off of Mike this weekend. Now that we're talking about off-air comments.
Well, don't worry, it'll happen. Probably.
All right. So now we're done having the conversation we're not supposed to have on air, or we're supposed to have off air on air.
Yes.
And of course, Chris does add, see you guys this weekend.
Very much looking forward
We're
to
looking forward to it. Nathaniel White. I am curious.
All right.
I think, and we met Nathaniel. Had the pleasure of hanging out with Nathaniel at Canadian Nationals. Wonderful guy to hang out with, and looking forward to seeing him in Ohio because I believe he lives near there. I'm curious if you think they should move worlds around to various events throughout the world to make it an actual world event. I had this conversation with Ryan Morgan and Edward Sheldon and Aaron Cantu on a pickup podcast. I believe made it to the Glass Cabinet channel. So check that out. Actually.
Last year or this year?
It was actually last week.
Okay.
It was last Tuesday, as a matter of fact. But the conversation came up about Origins, and I brought up this point that I think is kind of relevant. These conventions kind of work like rental apartments to the point where you sign a lease. And these will be multi-year leases in a lot of cases. And I'm saying this based on information I have gleaned and learned about San Diego Comic-Con, where a lot of the people who have booths or setups at San Diego Comic-Con have signed X number of years leases to San Diego Comic-Con to maintain that booth. Now, I feel like WizKid's presence at Origins is part of a lease because WizKids isn't at Gen Con anymore, as I'm sure we're all aware. As far as running worlds, they might have a booth, but that could still be a minimal portion of their lease that they don't have the game room anymore at Gen Con. I don't know how Gen Con ran. I'm just speculating on that part. So now we've got Origins, which is where they run it. For one, apparently they have a really good rapport with Origins. Secondly, they may also be locked into a certain number of years of lease with Origins in order to run this event. I've also heard that Origins is a less crowded event, which is okay. It's also an international event because it is a games fair, much like Gen Con does attract people from out of country, like goons like me, Tom, Mike, and Drake, and Patrick. All that notwithstanding, I do believe that if not for a traveling event where they go to different countries, WizKids could definitely benefit from running Worlds and other major events not in a convention. It's better on the players because if I don't have to spend $55 to get into the door, I can spend $55 on Heroclix, which is battle royales, events, sealed stuff, and that means WizKids is winning, and WizKids knows that. At least to a certain degree, they got to know that. And should it travel? Let's get to the point where people are traveling to it, because my understanding is they need people going there in order to attract, for them to justify moving it around. Because if people aren't going from enough people aren't going from the other countries to say, hey, there are people in this area, or there are people in this area during the event, then they won't move. You know what I mean? I know Magic the Gathering does it, but I mean, let's talk about the numbers Magic the Gathering gets for a Grand Prix at 2,500 people, and the numbers that Heroclix gets for what's considered a big event at 56. So let's get there, and then we can talk about moving around like a nomad. Tom, you have anything to add to that?
Not really. I guess the only thing I would say is that is the sort of decision that I feel, in principle, it would be great. And as long as the people who have the stats and knowledge necessary to make the most informed decision agree that it would be a good thing to have happen in a world where it was possible. That's all I really hope for, because I'd assume that if it's not happening, then it's considered not feasible. So I would like it to be tabled, but it would have to be interrogated pretty closely to make sure that it would be in everyone's best interest.
Yeah. All right. So now we move to the YouTube comments. So if you're currently watching and you want to get the question and may get it in within the next, it looks like 4 or 5 minutes, because these don't look like particularly long ones. Since the new errata on Malice, would the previous ruling about Proteus being able to jump to a new host, did I read that right? Would the previous ruling change? Or would the previous ruling change about Proteus being able to jump to a new host? Actually, the original ruling, if as I got pointed to in the erratas and clarifications, is that a would-be KO'd effect that would take the character off the board, you treat them as though they were KO'd, so Proteus would jump off of Malice and go to somebody else, and then Malice would be equipped. On the new rules, or on the new errata, even more importantly, that's not even a question. Malice is definitely KO'd. Proteus jumps, because that's a requirement for Proteus to jump. Is that the character he's on would have to be KO. So boom, bye-bye.
This one?
Yeah. So next up, Ted. If I won against Kenji in Canada, I would have chosen Carnage Surfer. Dream pick, the T-Rex Ghost Rider riding an F2 Raptor. He put a link. Oh my God, I'm sharing this. Oh my God. This is Ted, of course, who got second place at Canadian Nationals. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's awesome.
Now, as well,
so silly. I love it.
The Nationals winner isn't a dialed design as much as it is make this character. And
yeah, that still counts. Still counts.
So that, like, let's say I had won Canadian Nationals and I hadn't run into Kenji and his green power battery.
Is that Ghost Racers? What? I'm wondering where that is a reference to.
T-Rex Ghost Rider riding an F-22 Raptor. Everything about that is amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I've only read the first issue of Ghost Racers, so it could be, but it could be from literally anything else in Ghost Rider. So who knows? Moving on.
Yeah. But.
That's awesome. Great choice.
Yeah. Actually, when I was having the conversation with somebody when I made the top 8, because I was down on myself before making the top 8, I was like, oh, hey, I made the 8. Oh, my God. And then somebody asked me, he's like, what character would you make? I wouldn't use my Dr. Doom for this pick, because Dr. Doom would be my world pick. I want hands-on with that Dr. Doom. So then it became, what would be a figure that I would let WizKids design, but I tell them you got to make this. And I would go with the Scourge. Because in the only time we ever had Scourge, he was a cheap figure that just kind of scourged. He didn't do much. But now with the way the game is designed and the way characters exist, I want to see a Scourge that says, "Hey, if you're 75 points or less, I get bonuses because you're a lame duck villain, son," or something to that effect. Because that's what the Scourge did. He went through the world and killed things. But at the same time, I would let WizKids go nuts with it on their own accord. Tom, if you were to do Nationals, would you go with the dark green as well, or would you actually let them design it? Like, would you give them a figure that you wanted to see them design?
I'd probably still go with dark green. Frankly, I believe that they could do him justice. I'd also like to see an Alex Wilder. We've never seen Alex Wilder, right? Like, he's one of the original Runaways, and I won't give spoilers as to what happens to him, but I'm pretty sure he's the only one of the original Runaways that we've never seen a click of. So that would be cool.
Yeah, I kind of spaced out around Hammer of Thor, so I don't think there was, because that's Hammer of Thor is a set we saw the Runaways.
Hammer of Thor is the first time we saw them, and then they filled them out later with Victor Mancha, and I think that they've done a couple others since as well. They did the Zavin was done later as well, but we've never seen Alex, so that'd be cool.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So again, Runaways is one of those things. It's kind of the characters themselves are actually outside of my radar. And everybody seems to love the book, so I guess I really do have to pick that book up sometime.
Yeah, it is. I think it's excellent. Excellent book.
All right. On that note, there are no further questions on Facebook or YouTube, so I want to thank all the fans for putting in your questions, and I look forward to seeing any fans who are going to be in Origins in Columbus. We'll be arriving Wednesday evening. We may stop into the convention. We still have to work that out. So we'll see how that works out and go from there. In the meantime, I want to thank Tom for joining me on the show.
Hey, thank you, and I'm very very excited to be going out and playing some serious HeroClix out there in the real world.
Yeah. I'm honestly so excited. I feel like I'm about to vibrate out of like existence where I am right now. I'm just. But I also want to thank our sponsors at hcrealms.com. You saw us plugging away at HC Realms itself. It's a wonderful source of information. It's a wonderful way to build a team. It takes away all the math from it. I mean, all the figures are there. If you have a huge collection like myself, who wants to go through all those cards? I know the feeling is really good, but sometimes you just want to plug away at a team or just click on a keyword and make it happen, and that's wonders of the unit section at HC Realms. As well, the forums is a great place to have the conversation about tactics and strategy, as it were, or just general conversation about the game. Oftentimes, you'll find some upcoming sets and rumors about those sets, and that's a great thing to check out while you're there, too. As well, they got a shop. They got HeroClix and stuff in that shop, and if you want 10% off of that stuff, put in the coupon code MARRIED while you're checking it out for that kind of discount and help support the channel. As well, we're brought to you in part by MajesticCCG.com. The Apex Insiders portion of the site is your stop for brain droppings from great brains in HeroClix, and then occasional brain droppings from me, but don't, you know me, insert insult about myself here. But for $3 a month, you get access to the premium portion of that stuff, and as well, they do put up free articles on a regular basis if you want to get a taste of what some of those writers are putting up. Right now, the article I most recently wrote was put in the free section, so check that out as well. And of course, as I mentioned earlier today, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks if you want to support us directly through the channel. And again, want to thank all of the patrons who helped us out to afford a new camera. We're looking forward to putting that to work and giving my phone a bit of a rest. Now my phone's camera is actually going to be for, you know what, I can't use that word because kids watch the show right now. So, guys, it's Worlds this weekend. Can't help. It needs to be said. If you're playing in Worlds, you're playing in U.S. Nationals, you're playing in Constructed, heck, even if you're playing in Sealed, never forget that practice
Makes
your
team
better. I don't have a witty image this week. I didn't set up. I didn't actually do a lot of thinking about it. So you guys have a wonderful evening.
See y'all in person.